My brothers and sisters, welcome to my daily diary. It's so good to be with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you what I do each day. I love doing it so much. You support me in doing it, and accountability should mean transparency, and that's what I want to do to let you know how I'm spending my time and energy. So, July 30th, which was a Sunday, the 31st, August 1st, and Wednesday, August 2nd. What did I do during those 4 days? Sunday the 30th, I was here at my office. I had come back from a trip. I was getting ready for another trip. So it was one of those days in between, which means a lot of follow-up from the previous trip and preparation for the next one. A lot of that preparation had to do with taping right here in the studio. So I got up early, worked on various emails and desk work. Among the things dealing with along those lines were plans for upcoming trips, plans for the August pastoral team meeting when we bring our whole team together. We got to get plans in place for those meetings to make them fruitful, obviously. Social media, various platforms that we have, interacting with the social media team to make sure we're keeping right up to date. A press release regarding a pro-life victory in California that we were part of, approval of appeal letters going out, updates to my Wikipedia page that I was giving to the appropriate staff, and some work in regard to our brand new travel spot, which means a little spot that you might see on some of these broadcasts inviting people to invite our team into their communities, which they do all the time. I went live on the broadcast at 10 a.m. on Sunday the 30th to give the scripture teaching to our online audience, many of you, I'm sure, and then spent some hours in the studio taping future programs, both scripture reflections and also the evening programs, Praying for America, for the days that I wouldn't be here in the studio to do it. So all of that together with additional work at my desk and doing things like signing cards, birthday cards for donors and stuff like that, I did the rest of that day. Early the next morning, Monday, July 31st, like early as in 4 a.m., went to the airport and was getting ready to get on my flight for Washington, D.C. So I always do some work in the car, open up that laptop, do some emails, do the same thing while waiting at the gate for the plane, doing the same thing on the plane, as a matter of fact. And among those emails, the Ohio situation, getting the vote mobilized for the Ohio amendment, the Silent No More campaign, people who want to tap into that, communicating with other leaders, upcoming trip plans, a lot of that. One of our key brochures being put into Spanish, I had some input into that. A column, another opinion piece I wrote for Newsmax, I wrote that, got it over to them. Videos for events coming up. I told my staff to supply certain video recordings. Sometimes groups will ask us for a video that they can play at their event, sometimes a greeting from me or a clip from some event. Communication with Bishop Strickland, you'll hear more about that as time goes on, and then also getting our monthly statements ready to go that we send out to our monthly donors. Then I landed in Washington, D.C. and went right over to our Washington, D.C. office where our D.C. staff person, Krista, was there already, and we sat and worked together for about an hour, and then we went to the adjoining office. We actually have two offices there, and we went over to the other office where I then welcomed the board members of the National Pro-Life Religious Council, which I head. We had a board meeting starting at 10:30 and lasting until 2. So we talked about the work of the council, which very much is geared towards activating churches, as is the work of Priests for Life. And we got some good things discussed and planned. Went down the street for lunch together. Krista joined us, and we continued our meeting, as I say, until 2 o'clock, at which point they left, and then I went back over to our other office together with Krista. We did some work there for the next few hours, looking at things like postings for the website. She manages a lot of the internet activities, as well as sending out emails, sending out faxes to the parishes, coordinating training seminars online. She does a lot of that online technical work and getting people mobilized through our online resources. I also had to give some approval to thank you texts, get them ready for the donors to send out. Work in regard, again, to the Ohio situation. Mississippi primary coming up, urging voters to get to the polls. Different media that want to talk to me, planning appointments for them. And also Father David Begany, one of our priest associates, lining up some work for him and making some plans with him. So we worked until about 4:30 there at the office, and then got an Uber over to the hotel where we met up with our executive director, our executive manager, our communications director, and our director of street activism. All of us were together to host the hospitality suite that night, Monday the 31st, for national pro-life leaders from all over the country. So a couple of dozen leaders came, and we had some a social that night, good interaction, fellowship, updating of each other. This was our quarterly leaders meeting, the social before the meeting, I should say. The meeting was the next day. And I spent the evening networking with all of them until fairly late. August began on Tuesday, August 1st, and so did our meeting with pro-life leaders. So after an early breakfast, at about 7:30, we headed over down the street to the Museum of the Bible, which hosts these meetings for us, and we were able to welcome a few dozen pro-life leaders, national leaders from all around the country. We got together in the room, and as we usually do each quarter, we spent the whole day hearing presentations, updates on legislation, updates from 40 Days for Life, updates from Susan B. Anthony list, updates on the Ohio situation, on other ballot initiatives in various states, updates from each group about projects that they're doing. It was a fantastic day, an influx of not only information, but inspiration, good networking, good relationships formed and nurtured, and we spent the whole day doing that. The meeting goes from 8:30 to 4:30. Once we finished at 4:30, I went back to my hotel room, connected with my office staff in Florida, got some end-of-day updates, and then had dinner with three other leaders. One, our own Brian Kemper from our Priests for Life team, and then pro-life Spider-Man, you might have seen Mason climbing buildings for the sake of the unborn, as well as Mark Lee Dixon of the Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn. So the four of us had dinner together right there in Washington, D.C., went to a seafood place. That's always my favorite, and they know that, so they like it too. So we all had some seafood together that night. Wednesday, August 2nd, I had my trip back to Florida. So after an early breakfast, connected with my team, we went to the airport. We, of course, had meetings among ourselves because we had our communications director, executive director, and executive manager. So while we were sitting there at the gate waiting for the plane, we opened up the computer and we looked at the schedule for our upcoming pastoral team meeting. And this meeting, where we bring our whole team together, is coming up. So we went through line by line the day-by-day schedule so that we could have the most productive use of time and the most productive meetings with our pastoral team as we possibly can. We got that done there before we even boarded the plane. Got on the plane, did some work on the way there. Some of my email work involved upcoming media. The Legacy of Life book that honors me and 49 other leaders who helped end Roe v. Wade. Pro-Life University, we're making plans for that online. Plans with Alveda King, who remains part of our team. Some communication with her. Some work with our technical team about online commenting. You know, when you want to comment on an article, you know, you need sometimes an account. I have a Discus account, and I was just connecting with the guys to make sure that all of that was working okay so that I can give my input on various articles, especially those that are about me. And then Florida leaders, Florida pro-life leaders, some communication with them regarding the pro-abortion amendment that the pro-abortion people are trying to bring to Florida. Travels of our priests, communicated with them. We have Father Dennis Wild, our associate director, Father David Begany, our pastoral associate. Communication with them about their upcoming travels and activities, of some opinion pieces in some publications. Approval of our Priests for Life newsletter and input into that, of communication with other pro-life groups, and communication with our friends over at Vans for Life, the effort of putting a mobile pregnancy unit in front of every abortion facility in the nation. So that was work I did on the plane, and once I got back, I was busy with connecting with my staff. Oh, well, I landed, and then in the car, I had multiple phone calls, including with our vice chairman, some important plans for upcoming activities, and with other members of our administrative team. I chatted on the phone with them while going back to the office. It sure makes the trip go by like that. Once I got here, I was privileged to welcome to our office Sheriff Wayne Ivey. He's the sheriff here in Brevard County, Florida. Very, very popular politically, and does a great job. And he was here because the Republican Club of Brevard was also meeting here at our office. We host them every month for their board meeting. But the sheriff also came right here into the studio, and we took some photos and made some plans for him to come on for one of our broadcasts. So you'll be seeing that coming up. In the meantime, I also had to plan with my staff for the taping, which we did after Sheriff Ivey left. We taped some programs here for our Praying for America show. Then I grabbed a quick dinner, got some end-of-day updates from the staff, and then at 8 o'clock hopped on to Zoom, where we had a national election training call. So we had Debbie Wuthnow from the iVoterGuide.com. Some of you were on that call, I know. So we did our election training call for about an hour. And right from there, that 8 o'clock call, I hopped back here into the studio for a live broadcast at 9 o'clock as part of our Good Shepherd seminars for clergy. We talked about how clergy can connect you and their congregations with good pro-life resources and activities. So spoke about that for, 40 minutes or so live online, and took some questions. And that was the conclusion of Wednesday, August 2nd. Thank you for letting me give you an update. Accountability. I wish every leader would do this. I'd like to know the encouragement that would give people if their leaders would be just an open book. Look, here's what I did. You like what I'm doing, keep supporting it. You don't like what I'm doing, then don't support it. But together we move forward, and I thank you for your work. And this, by the way, is just me. We have our whole team that are doing all sorts of great things just like this on some pretty intense schedules, and I'm grateful to them as well, and to you for supporting us. So God bless you. We will talk to you soon, and be assured of our prayers.